Can you hear me? Hold on. I can't hear you.
How about now?
Oh, I can.
There we go. So we've got Brady Kennedy joining from the car. Brady, tell us where you've been. Where have you been tonight?
So we were doing a La Familia barrel pick. I just left there, and it I got caught up on the time, and I saw the college football playoff semi start, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm way behind. Um, and no, it was a good time. And the reason I couldn't hear you was my car broke down a couple weeks ago, and I'm in a new car that can't control my CarPlay.
Brady is new to the car play, guys. It has been a long time coming for Brady to upgrade this vehicle, and I'm glad it finally died and you were able to do this.
I'm close, man. You know what this reminds me of? Um, it kind of reminds me, wasn't there like an introduction in sports? It might have been like a Big Blue Madness. Like, didn't like Patino drive in like a motorcycle into Madness? Like, and it was like a lead up. Like, I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm like on my way to my computer.
This is like a Morgan Wallen intro right now.
Yes.
We're following you. You're going to pull into the garage and you're going to dab Emily up here in a second.
Yes. But I wasn't missing the show because I got some good opinions in football and basketball, Wes.
Oh, I'm ready. Listen. I know we've got a few viewers in here right now. We're going to give a couple more time to hop on here and for you to get inside and grab yourself a water or whatever you're planning to drink during this show. And we're going to talk about it. We've got some really good stuff to talk about. As obviously as everybody knows, Brady, I've kind of you probably can't see this from the car, but I have self-titled this show after Governor Andy Beshear's State of the Commonwealth address this week. This is the State of the Commonwealth for Kentucky sports tonight. And obviously we've got a lot of people concerned. Brady, it could be one of the first times in my life that myself have said this and heard others say that we're excited for football season.
That's really
in Kentucky.
Usually it's, I mean, what is equivalent to, I was thinking about this today, what's equivalent to that being for football, for basketball historically? Was that like, I'm trying to do the math here. Was that like September or October in football saying you were equivalent ready for basketball? Like, what is that? I mean, this is early to be saying that.
This is early. SEC, Brady, we're 2 games in SEC play, and we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about Missouri. I also want to throw out there that I think part of this, and of course your wife, Emily, who is waiting to dab you up with your Morgan Wallen entry here, says that she can't wait to hear what we have to say about the game last night. Emily, don't worry, that's coming. I will tell you that I don't know where Brady stands. I'm probably a little bit more positive than a lot of people are on this subject. Brady, I can tell you right now that I guarantee you're more positive than our good friend Austin Kidd on the state of Kentucky basketball at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to be positive. I think I was thinking about this again yesterday. That like this, and I want to give some perspective when I get back to my computer on kind of what this locker room and staff's going through, because I've been through it. But I think that like they're hearing the noise, right? Like they're hearing the noise from the fans, they're hearing the noise from the media, they're hearing the noise from everybody around them. Like there doesn't need to be more noise at the end of the day. I think they, you know, we've all played sports, like, you know, like you didn't try to miss the free throw. Like, you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't yell at a kid for missing a free throw. I didn't purposely miss it, you know, like I didn't purposely mess up. So like, I don't think I don't think we're in a space to like throw more gas on the fire. I think there's already too much fire. So like, let's figure out a way to fix it.
Absolutely. And, you know, we'll get into, I don't want to get into too much and jump the gun early. I want to talk a little bit of football first, but Brady, you're right. And I think me and you talked a little bit last night, listening to the UK Sports Network post game show with Jack Givens and Tom Leach, and we talked to each other about it, and we said, man, Jack was working his ass off last night to try to make it as positive as possible. But you know, that's part of it. He interviewed Malachi Moreno after the game, and you could hear it in Malachi's voice. How hard is that on a Kentucky born and raised kid to come out there after a loss? Malachi put it on his shoulders. He blamed the game on one missed rebound from him, and I thought Jack did a really good job of trying to take that pressure off of him, because obviously, as Jack mentioned, there is enough to go around. That one rebound is not the cause of the loss last night.
Absolutely. I mean, to go out there in front of fans. I mean, he's what, 18 years old. You feel at this point, you just feel defeated. Like, not even just because you lost the game, but it's like, and I think that's so much. It's so hard. I think Jack actually said it. It's like, it wasn't that play. You know, I mean, you shouldn't even have been in that position. It's just as unfortunate. And what kind of stinks is, like, that was a freshman mistake. Like, um, that's just kind of what freshmen do. I guarantee you it won't happen to him again, probably, but that's just kind of the growing pains you got to go through. And you know what? It's kind of unfortunate for him. It's a blessing long term, but he's the only freshman playing right now. So it's kind of like those kind of mistakes are pretty glaring, just because. What I'll also add to that, it's unfortunate for Malachi because he actually, in my opinion, is probably the bright spot of this team. And it just so happened that happened to him.
You know, Jack Givens talked about that again last night too, Brady, about how he's overachieved at this point, right? He sit there and told Malachi, who expected you to start at any point in this season before this season started, you know, and due to some injuries, he got that opportunity. But like you mentioned, it's a blessing a lot of times that, you know, some of those, you know, Jaden Quaintance was out. Obviously, he's made a healthy return. That's great. But it gave Malachi that opportunity to develop. I don't know that Malachi is today where he is today without having that opportunity earlier on in the season due to injuries. And so I'm like you. That's a total bright spot.
Oh yeah. No, and again, I think it's unfortunate because, like, he didn't play a bad game. That's Missouri historically under Dennis Gates has just been his, like, they're never going to be the most talented team, so they have to muck it up. Like, they're kind of in their own league when it comes to, like, just they're not winning a clean game. They're kind of like those old school, like, Mississippi State teams. I'm trying to think of those games, like, that just try to beat you up. And it's for a guy like Malachi who's still developing, getting stronger. It's not an easy game for him, to be honest with you. And the fact that it ended like that for him, it sucks.
Well, and another interesting fact, you know, speaking of being tough on Malachi, something you mentioned that I didn't realize is, you know, 2 centers in last night's game was on Arizona State's roster last year. I mean, that goes on to tell you Malachi is playing against experience. These bigs that he's going up to in the SEC, they're not 16, 17-year-old high school kids like he was playing against last year. These are experienced SEC players. Well,
yeah, he's done I would say a plus job. Honestly, for what he's for this year, like, what his expectations, A plus. I don't see how you and I'm about to be here home in a second, but I think under Cal, I think fans in general, I ran into this at Arizona State. We forgot what a normal freshman looked like. You know, when we had freshmen that were, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have your Julius Randles come around often. You don't have your John Walls come around often. You don't have your, that's not normal freshmen. Like, there's like 4 or 5 of them a year, and so Malachi like is an above normal freshman in my opinion. Like I think he's been performing better than most, and I think a guy like Jasper is kind of being like a normal freshman right now. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, I think he's got some growing pains, got a lot of work to do, but I think that's a normal freshman.
I don't know that Jasper's underperforming, right? I'm like you. He's a freshman. He's got a lot of work to do. I don't know that anybody expected him to come in and go crazy with everything either. While Brady is walking in, I do want to throw out there, we've got some viewers in here. Give us your thoughts. We're going to come back to Kentucky, Missouri here later in the episode. We got some highlights, some things to talk about there, kind of a deeper dive of Kentucky basketball. We're going to hop into football, talk a little bit about Coach Will Stein. But before we do, as Brady's walking in, again, throw those comments in there. Let us know your thoughts. If there's something you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We can talk about anything. As we talk, throw in your thoughts. If you're not watching right now, Brady talking about a bright spot. Number 6, Kentucky women's basketball that has been bright on the road in Alabama is down by 13 right now, nearing the end of the third quarter. Alabama up 51-38. That's going to be an interesting finish. Alabama, a good team. And I'm going to be honest with you, Brady. I'm kind of shocked that Alabama unranked at 15-1, 1-1 in the SEC. But road games are always tough in the SEC, men and women. But again, give us your thoughts. Let us know. We're going to hop into football here in just a moment while Brady gets tuned in. Want to give a huge shout out to MCHC, providing better health for a longer life. Listen, you see it up in the corner, but if anybody from MCHC is watching, please don't dock our pay. Dock Josh Cornett. He's the one that has not uploaded any of the commercials on here yet. So we have your logo, and we always talk about MCHC. We got to get him on these commercials. But anyway, thank you. Huge thank you to MCHC. Huge thank you to Hometown 24, David Thacker, Josh Cornett, for giving us this platform. And huge thank you to all of you who always show up and listen and support. It's always fun to hear from. Christy, I see your comment there. Why do you think Noah isn't playing at all? I was at MCHC today and not. Well, thank you for giving our sponsor a visit. That is great, Christy. We miss you. Christy, I'm not going to forget about that comment. I'm going to throw that back on there when we talk about basketball here in just a moment. I think that's a great question, something that a lot of people have asked about. Before we get into basketball, Brady, I want to say, I mentioned earlier being excited for football season. Coach Will Stein right now coaching in the semifinals with the Oregon Ducks. You heard his post-game conference or pre-game conference the other day talking about how he really don't want to comment on Kentucky. He knows everybody wants to talk about it. He wants to talk about it. But he really has to focus. He owes that to Oregon and Dan Lanning and everything right now. But Brady, he's on fire in the portal.
He is. I feel like we're always in the mix for everybody right now. Like, I don't really feel like there's ever been a guy we're out of the game for.
You're right. And I mean, one of the things that I'm very happy about, it's renewed this rivalry, especially with Vince Morrow heading to Louisville. We see this constant battle now on social media with Louisville fans and Kentucky fans with football, arguing on who's got the best draft class. Is this player going to Louisville? Is he going to Kentucky? We've seen a couple of those battles. But yeah, it's, the number one quarterback goes into the portal with Sam Levitt. A lot of people argue if he was the number one quarterback in the portal or not. I personally think he has to be up there. But, it comes out and not only him, but Hoover goes into and everybody, Kentucky's right there with him, right? Like you said, we're not out on anybody. Every big name that comes out, Kentucky is right there.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and you're probably going to get to this, but I think with the state of affairs, you've got to you got to fill your locker room. And so I think in any inkling that you have of maybe losing a guy or not filling a roster, like we always used to use the saying, you got to get the people on the boat, man. You got to go to war. Like, you can't sit around in this portal wave and wait on guys. If there's a guy that you feel good about that wants to come, you have to take him. There's a guy that, like, you can't wait on the great guy that's going to be flirting with the other schools, because if that's happening, you're putting all of your ducks in one basket. So I think what he's doing, I think from a strategic standpoint, I think is pretty smart.
I think so too. You know, we just mentioned Sam Levitt with that, and you know that's a big name. He's on campus. He was in Lexington for 3 days, Brady, before he headed down to LSU. And I don't care if he's sitting courtside with Lane Kiffin or not. You stay in Lexington for 3 days, and that means something. But again, you know, this is a guy that's asking a lot of money, enough money that it's going to take away from the rest of your roster if you pay him what he's asking. You know, it was rumored anywhere between 5 and 7 million was the package for Sam Levitt. And, you know, he's still got this visit at LSU. Next thing you know, Kenny Minchie goes into the portal from Notre Dame. He's another quarterback that really, really fits a good Will Stein offense. And he's interested. And before you know it, bam. We're not waiting on Sam Levitt.
In the portal, I think it's a bad sign if they don't commit on campus. Mm-hmm. Like, I think if you don't get a commitment by the time that you drop them off at the airport, you have a bad feeling in your stomach.
Absolutely.
At Arizona State, it's pretty crazy. My last year, we went 100% portal visits. My year that I left, we had every kid that came committed, that's kind of unheard of. Because you got to think too, man, like, every visit that they do, it's money, like, and time, and it clutters your mind. So, like, a guy that, like, isn't committing on campus, that's time that they're investing in this kid that they could be investing in another, and also money. Like, I mean, Levette flew from Phoenix on probably a day's notice. That's probably easily $800 flight to Lexington, $900. You got hotels, you got eating at Ruby's. Like, it's a lot more than just, hey, I missed on the kid.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, speaking of, I love the fact that you said if you don't have a commitment by the time a kid leaves campus, you've got a bad feeling. This is where we are in college sports today, Brady, that Kenny Minchie had committed to Nebraska. Committed. I'm at Nebraska. Here we go. Post it. Nebraska. The Cornhuskers were excited, man. They were posting.
Yeah. They've been looking at the highlights.
Posting the highlights, talking about how good of a fit. Oh, he's a baller.
I heard they actually had Joey Brooks' old Notre Dame basketball jersey in the back in honor of Notre Dame. That's what they had.
That's amazing. That's probably why Kenny Minchie originally committed, is because he knew the name Joey Brooks. And then when he realized Joey wasn't at Notre Dame anymore, he decided he was out. But,
well, you know, I think the story that I think Joey would tell is Minchie actually was sitting courtside at a basketball game, and he looked up in the rafters and saw Brooks hanging from the rafters of the jersey that's retired up there. I think that's the story that Joey would tell us.
That's what we would hear from Joey. Absolutely. Absolutely. But man, yeah, you know, quarterback, it's just crazy to me. And me and you talked about this last year with everything going on in the portal with basketball, Brady, is until a kid is on campus, semester starting, enrolled, you're not guaranteed anything. Supposedly the agent for Minchie has all the paperwork ready to sign everything, is a little bit slower to get everything done.
It seems like it's been a good one.
And before you know it, in one day, Brady, he is leaving Nebraska and has reopened his recruitment. Didn't even reopen it. Signed with Kentucky the day after he commits to Nebraska. What does that say about college sports right now? How do you feel about that?
There's no parameters. I don't disagree with what's going on. I disagree with the leadership and the it's ultimately it is what it is in terms of NIL. It is what it is with the portal. It's the calendar. There's no reason you should have players opting out during their playoff, like who you play for. Same with coaches. Like, I get it. And I get it from the player's perspective. I don't actually, you know what? I feel like I'm a hypocrite by saying I get it. I don't get it from the player's perspective, but I get it from Kiffin. You know, like, I feel like you got to be all in or all not. But I see it, and I see kind of how I get it, but it's wild. There's just, I think it's a shift where coaches and people like that have been in control for so long. Now it's kind of shifted to the other end where the players and agents now have everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting. You know, we always talk about rev share in the SEC now and how that's going to affect everything. But, you know, when you really think about it, I feel like places like UK and Lexington, where they have an advantage, is especially with deals like JMI, is, yeah, you know, we've essentially got a salary cap with rev share and all of that, but we're able to handle all of these endorsement deals to where we can pretty much guarantee players that money anyway, outside of the school collective. And so,
and one thing I will add to that is, like, with NIL, and I get a whole thing of the JMI, like, people talking and the noise, I would call it, surrounding that, is like, schools, like the information schools have on NIL, like, they don't want to give that out, right? Like, your advantage, you don't want to give that out to other schools to then duplicate. I think right now, like, what's unique in the whole space is, like, information around what they're paying kids and what's information around what they have to pay, right? Like, if you go to an agent and they know you've got $3 million, like, you don't want them knowing that, because, like, they're going to say I won $3 million. So like there's no reason for them to come out and say what they're doing, because, like, it's an advantage. Like, I don't see anything with anybody, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Duke, whether it's Washington. Like, you shouldn't be telling people your NIL strategy.
Agreed. 100%. And I want to bring that up a little bit more when we talk about Kentucky basketball here in just a moment. Our good friend Cody Stumbo, who love it. You travel to Atlanta to watch the Cats play in Atlanta, and who do you see on the big screen playing a rock, paper, scissors contest? It's Cody Stumbo.
And he lost.
He lost. He gets his moment on the big screen and he loses. What's up with that, Stumbo? But anyway, Stumbo says the biggest factor now will always be how the money is spent, making sure you give the right players the big money. And it is. You kind of touched on that just a second ago, Brady. And, you know, we talked about this quarterback battle. And when you're talking packages of $5 to $7 million, are you thinking about being like the Cincinnati Bengals? I hate to say it. I know you're a Northern Kentucky guy and a Bengals fan, but you spend all of this money on a quarterback and a couple of receivers, and you have nobody to protect them, nobody to play defense.
You look at it. I use a great example of, you look at it like a Rutgers basketball. If you remember them back last year with Dylan Harper and I'm drawing a blank on the other guy. He was at the Jazz right now. I mean, those two guys got all the money. You know what I mean? So how do you fill out the rest of your roster? But you're right. The Bengals, I just sat through a whole season with it. Thank God it's over. Thank God.
But that's what when you look at college sports, especially, Brady, when you look at big time blue blood programs like the University of Kentucky, you're dealing with a professional organization. You've got a budget, you've got these players, and it's a lot like that. You know, in the past, you didn't have to worry. You know, obviously, players have always gotten paid under the table a little bit somehow, and they've gotten incentives. But when you look at it from a legal standpoint today, it's much different forming an entire team than it was, say, 5 years ago.
One thing I want to hit on, Wes, later in the show is, again, this is just some I think shower thoughts should be like a segment for us. Like, I thought of this in the portal. One thing that I think is an underrated part is figuring out players' personalities. Ace Bailey, that's the name.
Yeah.
Ace Bailey. He's good, stud.
Yeah.
One thing that is very hard to figure out is I'm trying to think of the right word. Personalities of players. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Like how well like teammates like them, right? How well like they mesh, what's their personality, what's their baggage, like they're like figuring out their background a little bit is harder in the portal. Whereas in high school, there's just so much more access to them that people will talk, like you can kind of figure out the stuff around them. But like, how do you find out a guy like, I won't use a Kentucky person, but let's just say, how do you find out a guy like, let's just say like Silas Demery from UConn, right? He transferred from, oh gosh, where did he transfer from? Well, all right. Here's a good example. Boogie Fland. How do you accurately vet Boogie Fland from picking up his transfer portal? Because he was playing at Arkansas, right? So, okay, maybe you got some relationships on Arkansas staff to say, hey, how was he, right? You got to trust that. Like, are they lying to you? Do they want him gone? Like, are they like, he's great, take him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you run into that part. So you got to kind of trust your gut, and then you got to do the background work behind. So like, you may be recruiting a guy that like, they want to get rid of him. They're just saying, take him, and I think that's kind of, and we're going to get into basketball a little bit. So later in the show, but like, I think that's kind of what's going on a little bit, maybe at Kentucky. Maybe they got some guys that, maybe not, but in the portal world, I think that's going on. That's the hard part.
Oh, 100%. Completely agree. So before we do hop over to basketball, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm kind of nervous if our good friend Austin Kidd hops on here or tries to say anything. We might need to block him during this episode. But just want to, Brady, pick your brain. Some of the pickups by Will Stein so far this year. Obviously, we just talked a little bit about Kenny Minchie. What do you think about him? Is it something I feel like I've heard the Big Blue Nation say back and forth? Some like him, some don't. How do we feel?
I don't think we can I think we have to trust the people that recruited him. There's not a ton of tape on him. I mean, I know you watched a little bit more than I did. I don't know the intricacies of what goes into judging a quarterback, but I do know our head coach. That's kind of like that's kind of what he does, right? So there's things that he saw. There's things that he saw in him that I think you got to go with and trust. He's in Notre Dame, man. I mean,
that's my thing. One of my biggest things, regardless of his skill set, Brady, obviously, showing some clips of him from this past season, by the way. And one of the things I want you to notice, Brady, there is a lot of clips of a lot of different games you can watch from this past season at Notre Dame. They're beating the crap out of people. Obviously, it's not one of Notre Dame's best seasons. Obviously, we heard about that from Joey Brooks all year long. What we can say is that Notre Dame is a program that is used to winning. He's been a part of that. He's an athlete. He can throw. He can run. He is a winner. He's won all of his life. I'm excited to have him. I think that he is a perfect top player for Will Stein's offense. I had nothing against Cutter Boley. Brady, you're in the group where me and our good friend Mike Ayersman got into a fist fight through text the other day about whether Kenny Minchie was a better pickup than Cutter Boley. I don't think there's a question. I respect Cutter Boley. I love what he was able to do for us this season. I do not think Cutter Boley could get us to the level of football that Kenny Minchie can.
Yeah. I think I agree. And I think the reason that we agree right now is it's a new coach. And I think it's kind of like until he proves you wrong, you got to believe in him, right? And there's no discrediting what he's done at Oregon with who he's worked with. So I think you got to trust him until he proves you wrong. And I think you got to go with it. And I know Wade Stoops and that staff missed on a few quarterbacks. Like there was doubt, right? Every guy you brought in, it was like, oh, he's another guy. You know what I mean? So I think you got to go with and trust with what with what he's done.
Absolutely. Another big pickup from the portal this year, Brady. I think you might have gotten to see a little bit of him, but Javonte Barnes. We don't sign him as probably our all-star. This is going to be the running back, but he is a huge pickup, I think, for the Cats.
Oddly enough, and it's kind of funny. Two things. One, when I watched this film, a lot of his he doesn't seem crazy fast, but he's most successful on pitches and outside runs, but he's strong, and I looked him up and again, I'm very football's not really my MO, but I started Googling and reading some articles. He's really good for versatility, can catch. He doesn't have a ton of catches on his career, but he can catch, he can run. He can do short downs. He can do fun. But what he's really good at, what people say, is blocking. And I think that's something that I bet Will Stein and his staff looked at and said, listen, if we're going to air it out, we better have some blocking. And you know who I'm comparing him to, Wes? And Chat GPT gave me 3 names, so I'm not even gonna take credit for this. Samaje Perine, my Bengals backup running back, man. Samaje's great.
I like that.
And I'm not saying this guy's going to be a backup by any means, but Samaje, man, he's got the short down yardage. He's Old Faithful. Now he may fumble sometimes, but he's great pass blocker, low maintenance. You need a guy like that.
I actually really, really like that comparison. And I think we can talk about, again, Brady, what we talked about earlier in the fact that I think this is another pickup where Will Stein's not going to sit around and wait on CJ Baxter, right?
Yeah.
We're still in the hunt for Baxter. We can still get him. But if we don't, we're going to survive, right? Yeah. This is another one of those pickups where we've got an SEC running back with SEC experience for Oklahoma, who isn't just an SEC program. They come into the SEC and they've been good, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think with this guy, I mean, you look at these clips, what he's doing is against SEC. He's used to going against these bodies, which is cool. And also too, they're all good. They've all been around winning. I think you hit the nail on the head. Notre Dame, there's a standard there. These guys can come in the locker room and they know what winning looks like. The good thing is they don't really know what losing looks like, but they know what it takes to win, and what's not right.
Absolutely. Well, I think it is Stein time in Lexington, Brady. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. I kind of regret letting my season football tickets go now at this point, but we can go tailgate with Mike Ayersman and the group at the Big Blue Ambulance, and we can sneak into the game if we need to.
We can do that. No, I mean we just need vibes.
Right? We need vibes. And you can tell, Wes, we've been there. You walk through that parking lot and you can just tell that the minds, the energy. You just need energy. That's all it is. We talk about this all the time. Speaking of MCHC, Dr. Van Breeding talks about all the time. They're talking about in Lexington putting this fan experience in, right, with all that and trying to enhance the experience. And I agree with him. He says all the time, you want to enhance the experience? Win, right? The experience is great. If you've ever been to Kroger Field during the Will Levis years, back when Andre Woodson and we beat number 1 LSU, I thought it was a great experience, right?
Yeah. Winning cures everything. You could have a dysfunctional culture. You could have a dysfunctional team. You could have guys getting kicked off, whatever. If you win, no one's talking about it to your next loss. But you start losing and that stuff comes with late. It's hard.
One thing before we hop over to basketball that I do want to mention, we talked about this the other day. I think it's a great philosophy. I said this earlier. I posted this on social media. I said this in a previous podcast episode. If Will Stein comes in and lives up to expectations, do not expect him to be in Lexington very long, right? And I'm good with that. Because if Will Stein leaves in a few years and goes somewhere better, that means that the 2 or 3 years he was here was phenomenal. So I'm going to pose the question again. All this hype around, we've seen it done. Look what happened at Indiana. Look what happened at Vanderbilt. If Will Stein does come in and happens to make the college football playoffs year one, possible. How long does he stay at Kentucky?
That's a good question. I want someone to comment and hear some thoughts, because it's interesting. And I think we can use the Arizona State example. I think you saw Dillingham, who had a ton of success, made the playoffs, right? Young coach, similar to Stein, calls it his dream school. He went to Arizona State, and like he got offered. What did he get offered? Did he get offered Ole Miss? I think, or he got offered.
I think Ole Miss, right?
In Michigan. He got turned out Michigan.
You're right.
And he's 38, and took a very hard Arizona State job and flipped that thing around. But he played there, so he played there. I think in any instance, I don't think he stays, but he's got loyalty there. He loves that place. He loves the area, loves the school. Will Stein, outside of being from Kentucky, I think he's from Kentucky, correct? Like
from Louisville, played at Trinity. Yep.
Aside from being from Kentucky, he doesn't have that tie that Dillingham has. So like if you're telling me he goes to the playoffs this year and Michigan called, dude, I would think that's a no-brainer.
And again, Brady, I'm fine with that, right? I'm completely fine with that, because if he leaves after 1 year, if he leaves after 2 years, there's a reason, right? And that allows you to bring in another Will Stein. That allows you to, this job becomes more enticing.
Yeah.
Once you make the college football playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Which I think we're going to do. I'm looking up here at the views. When we hit 20 viewers, we're going to do like a viewer dance.
Ooh, a viewer dance. Can we be like those TikTok guys that are like, you get to a certain amount of viewers and we'll do some kind of dance or
yeah.
something.
Well, we've kind of been fluctuating right at 20. Like we've had more than 20 viewers, but it's been separate. But if we get 20 at one time, it's a milestone.
It's a milestone. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Brady, before we hop over to men's basketball, I do have to point out, and Van just hopped in here and said he's watching. He had to turn the game off and switch over here to us. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, gosh.
It's a beat down right now in Tuscaloosa.
Well, Van, if you're still listening, this is how Wes tells me when he can't hang out. He's like, well, Brady, that's the same thing he says. I can't tonight.
Oh, yeah, but it's ugly. Not a good game for the Cats. It's one of those games for the Lady Cats. It seems like that nothing can go right in a season where a lot has went right. But again, we talked about SEC on the road. It's going to happen. Speaking of SEC on the road, Brady, we start SEC play with the Wildcats on the road in Tuscaloosa, where the girls are tonight. And I have to personally say that's a game one of the SEC. I did not expect to go into Tuscaloosa and come away with a win game one.
No. And what's interesting, what people I don't think realize is like historically, Kentucky's always played Alabama the weekend, either right before the national championship football used to play. So it was funny when we were playing there, you would see all the boosters sitting right there next to this, and they'd be like, we're hopping on our jet and heading to the national championship game. Like that's back when there was no playoffs, right? So this year, it early on, the Alabama was in the playoffs. They had just got beat. So like it wasn't as ruckus as probably it would have been if it was 2 weeks later when kids were on campus. So it's not like it's just a really weird environment there around this time of year, which Kentucky actually lucks out with. Like it could be a lot more crazy. I'm sure it was wild, but kids are on winter break. So you don't have everybody back, and football is doing their thing, but they had lost. So I didn't expect them to win, but also it's you know what, you're Kentucky. You should go into every game thinking you're going to win.
You should. And I say that just based on, all the things we had going on. Obviously, like you said, you want to go, you're Kentucky basketball. You got to go into Tuscaloosa thinking you're going to win and wanting to win that game. Not shocked that we didn't. I wanted to be way more competitive than what we were. I thought that we would be. And the simple fact I say that, Brady, is because you know what a Nate Oates Alabama team looks like. You know they're going to shoot the piss from downtown, the piss out of from downtown. And they're going to shoot it in high volumes. And I feel like we did a terrible job defending what Alabama's good at.
You hit the nail on the head. It's the how, right?
Yep.
It's like, I'll use a football example. It's like when you're playing the Ravens and Derrick Henry puts up 150 rushing yards, right? You knew, just pack the box, right? Like make someone else hurt you. I think that's kind of what we saw at Alabama. It's like you watch Alabama for 10 minutes, you know what they're trying to do. And that's kind of how it was. We used to lose games like that as well. It happens, but yeah, kind of. And honestly, kudos to Aiden Holloway, man. He balled. Like, let's be real. Like the guy had a heck of a game. Especially that shot late, man. That was.
He can play. He
can hoop, man.
I will say, going into that, and this is some of the things that aggravates me. And I don't, Brady, as crazy as this sounds, I don't blame all of this on Mark Pope. I think this team just struggles with some things. Mark Pope is smart enough that I know you remember a time in this Alabama game. The second one was Holloway. I can't remember who the first one was. 2 plays in a row, back-to-back plays. It was the exact same flare screen at the top, reversed. Flare screen to the left, catch, 3, money. Next play down, flare screen to the right, Holloway, money. Mark Pope knows that. So that's why a lot of this stuff, I would love to know exactly what is going on, because that's not a Mark Pope issue.
Correct. I think it's kind of twofold. Like I do think that Alabama is, let's not get it twisted, they're a Final Four contending team. Like, yes, they've lost some games, but they could get hot, right? And I think that's kind of where Kentucky fans are a little bit disturbed right now, is they're looking at this team and saying, where is the hope, right?
Yep.
With that 2013 team, you saw the talent, right? You saw it. It's like, how can they click to just propel? And I think you look at Alabama and you're like, man, like you can hit shots and beat anyone, right? Like you have a chance in every game. And that's kind of what I actually tell our good friend Andrew Ortelli. We'll talk basketball and he's at Temple, and we're just talking hoops. And like, I always tell him like, hey man, like I remember a couple of years ago, they had a guy on their team that could get a bucket. I'm like, dude, you got a guy that can go get you a bucket. Like, and that was the beauty of like Malik Monk or like Jamal Murray. That's probably a better example. Like the Jamal Murray team was good. They weren't great. We were missing a few pieces, but like, you had Jamal. Jamal could go off for 30 any night. And so you knew you had a chance just off of that. And I got a feeling with this Kentucky team, like, do you have that? You don't. I don't think. But Alabama does. And that's why I think there's hope.
I agree. And I'm not giving up yet. I will tell you, I feel like, Brady, why I might be a little bit disappointed. Like I said, I knew there was a chance. I did not go into the Alabama game saying, oh, we're going to win this game. You're going to start 0-1 in the SEC, more than likely. But where I had hope was your next 3 SEC games: Missouri, Mississippi State, LSU. Missouri and Mississippi State at home. You could very, very easily start the SEC 2-1, right? And so I think that's where a little bit of my disappointment comes from. Is you can ask my wife. Walking out of Rupp Arena last night, I was hurt. Like I thought I might have to stop and puke in the trash can.
You didn't respond. You did. I knew something was wrong because you didn't text back for about an hour.
Man, I was hurt. And the reason I wasn't hurt after watching the Alabama game is because, okay, Mississippi State, LSU, Missouri coming up. That's 3 games, 3-1.
Yeah.
Start out SEC play 3-1. I'm happy. We're fine. Gets momentum going. But you come in for the first time since 2006, Brady. We've started SEC play 0-2 for the first time since 2006. Not only is that bad, if that's not bad enough, you also give Missouri their first ever win in program history at Rupp Arena. That hurts.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does, and it's kind of like this is kind of Missouri's a team, and you were there, so I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts on like kind of how it was, because like when I was sitting there watching it on TV, you kind of just had a feeling like they never like Kentucky was missing that one play to break it open, right? Like they got it to 8. They needed, if they got it to 10, does Missouri fold, right? They just never made that next play to like, we always used to call it stepping on their throat, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get them down. And Missouri is a type of team that just they're never going to go away, or they're going to be very hard to go away.
They're not. And everybody that's viewing, make sure you let us know your thoughts on last night's game too. Would love to hear your thoughts. Any questions you have about last night. Christy, I'm coming back to your question with Trent Noah here in a little bit. Let us know your thoughts. I'm like you, Brady. They're not going to go away. You're up 8 with 4 minutes left to go in the game. And I feel like there was just – let me think how to say this without being politically incorrect or without – Brady, I don't know what's going on with – you're up 8, 4 minutes to go. I don't think it's a Mark Pope issue. Some of these guys want to be the hero, I think. I think you have some of these guys – they were all role players last year on really good teams.
Yeah.
You look at Mo Diabate, really good Alabama team he was on last year. He was a role guy. You look at Denzel Aberdeen, national champions Florida last year. He was a role guy. And I think they came to Kentucky because Kentucky is that blue blood program, right? They win national championships. And I can go from being a role guy on a really good team to the guy on a really good team. I think you saw some of that last night. I've been the biggest fan of Jalen Lowe this entire season. I think he's incredible. We can't be successful this season without him. But the shot he shot at the end of the game.
And I saw it wasn't was Otega on the wing that was wide open just to like get it, because he shot it with like 4 seconds left. From what I kind of remember is, and if you want to go to it, you can kind of see it. But man, it was. It's two things for me when always judging when we had good teams and bad teams. One, can they get easy baskets? I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. Where are they getting the easy basket from right now? And really, I don't think they have one, right? There's not really a good way to get one. And two, it's like when things break down, what are they getting to, right? Are they getting to a high ball screen to go whatever, right? Does that work? I remember there we'd have, again, it's easier said than done, but like when things broke down, we would do a high ball screen with Jamal Murray or not even do anything, right? Let him go get something. Malik Monk, obviously. Again, those are unique individuals, but like when things break down in your late shot clock, what are you getting to go get you something? There's one interesting point before I forget, Blue. And I don't know if you remember this. And I actually looked at Emily on the couch and I was like, you mark this. If they lose this game, mark this down as a pivotal part. Jalen Lowe subbed out at the 450 mark because he was saving him for the under 4. And I don't know if you remember that. And I look at Emily and I said, if they lose, and you know what? Missouri went on they got like 5 points before that timeout came. And it got to like 3 or 4. I don't know the exact. they got momentum, and then they had a TV timeout. He got J-Lo back in, and it was over. But that was it. That was, I think, that little 30 or 40-second run right there at the end of that was huge.
Yep. I agree completely. And no, I'm like you. I think there were some good calls late. For example, I can't remember. Yeah. So the first late in the game, the first backdoor cut that we turned it over on, we threw it out of bounds coming out of that timeout. I think that was a good call by Mark Pope. He come out and tried to go into that pistol action in the corner. It wasn't there. They denied it. And so we ended up having to go for a handoff up top, try to hit the back door. It wasn't there. I thought it was a good call. It didn't work out, right? But then you come down the next play, and, our good friend Austin Kidd was so torn up last night. One of the things I really do kind of worry about, Brady, is how much I'm not saying these guys don't want to win. They obviously want to win. But we got so used last year, Brady, to seeing a lot of guys come from mid-major teams that never thought they had the opportunity to play at the University of Kentucky. They left it all out there. Andrew Carr played through back pain all year. Lamont Butler played through injuries all year. These guys wanted so bad to win. These guys this year come from Alabama. They come from a national championship team. I don't know that Kentucky means as much to them as what last year's team did. And I'm not saying that's a big issue. I'm saying we got used to something last year that I don't think we have this year.
And maybe that's who he's good at coaching. I think identifying who you can coach. And you know what? I kind of do get a little bit frustrated with this, and I might be an outlier, is like people say they don't know what it means to play for Kentucky. And I get that. There is something about Kentucky that you should be there's a respect for putting on the jersey, and I understand that. But man, like, talk about pride for yourself, man. Talk about for the love of basketball. Like you should love the sport. Like, do you love playing? Like, and that was really important that's important for an NBA team to understand, is you've got guys that there's a difference. You've got guys that are good at basketball, and you got guys that love basketball. You see guys to dwindle out of the league. If you don't love it, those guys are out of the league in 2 years, 3 years. And so NBA scouts and GMs, like, that's one of their number one jobs. Like, does a guy love basketball? Because if he doesn't, it rarely works. And that might be the case. Like, do these guys happen to be gifted, right? Like, is a guy just so happens to be 6'9" and can dunk a basketball and he's athletic? Like, there's a difference. Some of the guys just don't love it, and that's fine, but that could be a part of it too.
Absolutely. Brady, I want to hear your thought, and I also want to hear the viewers' thoughts. What do we have time? Obviously, we are 2 games in the SEC. At this point, you have to be wondering, what's it look like for tournament play? Can we get there? Does Mark Pope have time to fix this season?
Yeah. You have, and the reason I say that, one, dude, you're 2 games in the SEC. So there's you still got 3 months. With a down SEC year, not down, very mid. The hard part that they now have that they didn't have a week ago is they have to go win on the road. So you've got to go win. You're going to have to go probably win at either Florida or at Tennessee, or I think if they play at Georgia or at Arkansas, you're going to have to go win a couple of them games that you probably, looking at the schedule for the year, you probably deemed as like a toss up. Those become a lot more important. And then also your home games are must wins. So they can do it. It's better that it's happening now than a month and a half. But what do you think?
I think so too. I think it can be fixed. And where my mind is at is, Brady, I keep going back to last night. was the first game this season that the 5 we expected to start started, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Jalen Lowe out with injuries. You had Jaden Quaintance that we've been waiting to get back. I mean, when you really start thinking about it, you've had other guys. Brandon Garrison dealt with an injury there for a little while. Last night was the first night that you had your team on the floor, the way you thought they would be. And Jaden Quaintance still only played 7 to 8, almost 18 minutes.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that by the end of the year might be playing 25 to 30 minutes.
And it's not so much to me about the games as much as it is practice, because you got to figure all these other teams they've been playing together in practice for the last 6 months, right? And I think it was on TV last night. Someone made a comment, and it might have been on accident, that Jalen Lowe may not even really be practicing 5-on-5 too much with the guys. And again, I have no proof of that, but I think they said it on TV, or somebody did, where how much 5-on-5 is he actually able to go? Because that's also important too. If he's not going 5-on-5 in practice with the guys, and it's hard, man. It's hard to get chemistry.
Brady, something that you talked about last night. You mentioned this yourself, and Leaf Nethery from out in Madisonville, Kentucky, hitting on exactly what you hit on last night. Do they not understand Pope's system? Is that an issue? Is it too complicated? Is it something we've talked about it a million times? Is this does not look like Mark Pope basketball that we're seeing right now. Why?
I think the easiest way to put it is he doesn't have the guys that fit him. I think that's probably not fit him. I think it's fitting him and fitting what he's trying to, how he wants to play. I think that's number one. And I think a good example, and that's why I texted you guys this. You look, because we were there. You saw Jaden Quaintance in game 1 is a very Jaden Quaintance in game 3. And even last game. And it's like, you saw him play with so much emotion, energy. Jaden Quaintance at pretty much every game, and every time he steps on the floor, he's got the most upside and actually probably pure talent than anyone on the court, right? And in the St. John's game, he was playing off, in what my opinion was, just pure instincts.
Adrenaline.
And instincts, right?
And instincts.
We actually, I keep hating to go back to past teams, but like De'Aaron Fox was kind of like that, man. Mm-hmm. He was more like, he was at his best when you just like, dude, go trust yourself. Like he was, when he got thinking too much was when he just slowed, because you needed De'Aaron to go fast. And when you started kind of like getting him to do things to make him think is when he was really at his worst. And once Cal kind of let him go, he was phenomenal. And so I think it's the St. John, man, dude, Jaden Quaintance looked like a bona fide top 5 pick, like right out of an ACL injury. And I think that was like, he didn't really have too much practice. He didn't have too much, like, he went through a week of practice. He probably now understands plays a little bit more, or at least trying to. He's thinking, man, he's best athlete on the court. Just go play with instincts. I think that's kind of where he needs to get to.
I agree. I think he's the best athlete on the court. And Brady, somebody said to me yesterday, and I think about it a lot, Jaden Quaintance, they said, I don't know that Jaden Quaintance looks like what I thought he was going to look like. Yeah, right. Like, first of all, this kid's 18 years old. Second of all, how long's it been since he played? You sat an 18-year-old out this long? He's playing against SEC teams. He's not going to look like what Jaden Quaintance next year is going to look like.
No. Dude, he'll be playing on Christmas Day for NBA sometime next year. Like, the kid is an unbelievable talent. And I think the hard part when coaching these guys that have unbelievable, gifted, talented things is you have to live with their mistakes to a degree, but like you have to take the reins off of them. And I think Jaden Quaintance, he's a center that can kind of do a lot more than a normal center when it comes to like, he's got some guard skills, but like, man, you got to let him loose. Like, let him loose. And whether that's actually kind of how Cal was with a lot of these bigs. Like, if you go back and watch Cal's teams with what he did, like, I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein, I mean, even Anthony Davis, those kind of guys, man, they were like kind of dunker spot, kind of feel where the empty space was to go fill it and dunk and lob and run around, pick and roll, lob, dunk. Like, that's kind of what they did. I mean, this guy could do it. Like, just, he's got great feel.
Look at who was it last night drove in and I swear JQ almost double blocked it, right? Yeah. I mean, he was up. I mean, his waist at the guy's head, almost a double. Like, he's got it. You're right. And you saw some of that in that first game at St. John's in Atlanta. Like you said, playing off instinct. And, I said adrenaline. This kid's been waiting to get back on the court for so long. Some of that instinct just came out.
Yeah. Well, dude, Zuby Ejiofor or Ejiofor, it's Ejiofor. Dude, he's like Big. He was like Big East preseason player of the year, defensive player. Like, dude, it was no, like, who he did that against was better than the last two bigs that they played against.
And I go back to what I said after that game. JQ checks into the game. He makes some crazy athletic moves, a crazy bucket, and instantly you look at Ejiofor, they start throwing it in the post. They just kick it right back out. They don't even look to score because they know the athleticism this guy has, and they were intimidated by it. They've heard about him all year.
The one thing that I think that this staff is kind of battling right now is like they don't have patience, and I think they can't afford to have patience because of what their record is, and that's true.
I agree.
Yeah, he's got some time, and I think. Like, ideally, Kentucky's got maybe 2 losses right now, right? In a perfect world where they could let Jane Quaintance play through mistakes, right? Through some stuff where right now, like, they have to unfortunately go with guys that are like producing right now, right? Like, they can't afford. And so that's why you probably don't see, like, you didn't see Jane Quaintance too much last night. You didn't see Jasper, you didn't see Trent, you didn't see some of these guys that normally would get some minutes to get some experience, but man, like they just don't have time to waste.
And now that you mentioned that, let's hop over. I want to hop over and address Christy's question. I told her way at the beginning of this show we would address it and talk about it. I have nothing but respect and love for Trent Noah. Me and you talked at the first of the year about the potential that Trent Noah has. I've got to be honest with you. I think that if Trent Noah sticks his time out at Kentucky, he is going to win the Kentucky Wildcats some huge, huge games. What I've seen from an honest perspective so far this season is he's a little bit of a liability on defense right now. I think that will come. You got to think Trent has grown a lot since his time at Kentucky. I'm not talking about growth on the court. I'm talking about he's grown in height. He's gotten stronger. And I think that's part of Trent's young. I think he's going to become a better defender. And, I think with Jalen Lowe back, if Trent Noah could have played earlier in the season with Jalen Lowe, I think Lowe could have got him some easier shots.
That's a good point.
I really do. I think one of the problems with Trent Noah so far this season has been that for a while he was the only shooter on the floor. And when you play against teams that the opposing team has one shooter on the floor, you're not going to let them get a shot off. And Trent don't have that explosive ability yet to be able to just get by somebody on the dribble. I think they took it away. But I think if he had played all year with Jalen Lowe, he might be in a little bit of a different situation right now. Unfortunately, he didn't. I respect it. I don't think it's a bad move by Mark Pope by any means. I think, when we think about shooters, the guy that I think we really have to get going, and I think he's getting there, is Cam Williams.
You brought up a great point. He didn't play with Jalen Lowe, and that would have gotten him some open looks. And like in shooters need confidence. If you're not hitting shots, especially a young guy with not a ton of experience, if it's not going in, you're struggling to kind of gain that. But the other thing too, like with Trent is like, if you aren't hitting shots, like how else do you impact the game? And I know the staff's probably like, he doesn't check, unfortunately, I mean, he just doesn't check a ton of boxes from that point of view. And so if you're not hitting shots, I know that probably staff's probably like, then how, like how else are you impacting the game? But I do think with a Jalen Lowe, there's a big difference if he hits maybe 2 more shots, right? Like 4 threes go in, confidence can rise. And I think that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to Trent Noah. You know, that's one of the things that me and you talk about, Brady. I did want to ask you the question because it's something that a lot of people have on their minds right now. And I know we're running out a little bit of the time, but the portal issue. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they're really, really worried about Mark Pope right now in the portal. We don't have any signees. We don't have any commitments. What's going on? Are we falling behind? I think you know my opinion on this. We've talked about it a lot. I think you've got a lot of players on this current year roster that Mark Pope is planning on retaining. Now, we talked earlier that we like how Will Stein's not waiting around. He's playing it safe. He's playing good. I do wish we saw a little bit more from Mark Pope. But me and you, Brady, have talked all year about how Mark Pope needs to shorten that roster. 7, maybe 8 guys. Well, when you start looking at Kentucky next year, if you keep Colin Chandler, if you keep Trent Noah, if you keep Jalen Lowe, if you keep some of these guys, you don't need much in the portal right now.
This just came to my mind. Will Stein is operating like Mark Pope did last year in the portal, right? Mm-hmm. It's so much easier to recruit when you don't have a roster. Like, that's what people kind of forget. When you've got when you don't have people in the recruiting conversation to compete with minutes and shots and snaps per se, like that's a lot easier of a conversation than when you're going into a house and saying, hey, I want to offer you X money, but you might have to compete for your job, right? Like you've got Willie Rodriguez at tight end, but I'm going in to get a tight end. He sees Willie and he's like, well, I don't know. That's harder. So like, I think kind of which Mark Pope actually returned not as much as typical teams after their first year, but like next year, I think, because if you kind of remember, Jasper committed early.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like, did Donovan Dent look at that and say, hey, he's top 25, right? You know, like that's a completely different recruiting conversation than if there's no one in that spot. Mm-hmm. Not saying you're getting a guy like Donovan Dent for that, but it's just one less objection you got to worry about. And so I'm interested to kind of see how Will Stein will next year, because I think Mark Pope has a lot of decisions to make on who he wants to keep.
I agree. I think that's the thing. You know, we go back to NIL, especially with the rev share, Brady, and what some of our viewers have talked about tonight. You got to be a little bit cautious with how you spend your money. You know, there's a lot of rumor going around about Tyron Stokes. If Pope really wants, and this team wants Tyron Stokes, that's something you got to think about. He's going to cost some money. And so you got to start thinking exactly what you said, Brady. Who do you want to keep? Right. It is. I think that's a phenomenal point that I often forget. And I appreciate you reminding me all the time. It is easier to recruit when you don't have a roster.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing that kind of, I'll probably tie it all back with the portal is, at least with high school recruiting, you know, couple years in advance how good a class is. So like, you know, like all right, this sophomore class or this 2028 class is really good. Like you got an idea, like, yeah, this guy's a big, you got a little more intel on him because you know about him for 3 or 4 years. Whereas, dude, you have zero idea how the portal is going to be. Like it could be awesome. It could have a ton of talent in it. It could suck, right?
Yeah,
it could. You really have no idea. And so you're kind of rolling the dice a bit. And I actually told a story the other day about this is when we were recruiting, I don't know if you remember the guy, Matt Harms. Remember him from Purdue?
Yeah.
The tall lefty. And he went in the portal. You remember when he went in the portal COVID year, like really late? I was sitting at my kitchen table with Emily, and I'll never forget this, man. I was working on a Matt Harms graphic because we needed a center. That was the last piece of that team. And because we had like Lance Ware was our center at the time. He was a freshman coming in. And we needed a veteran center or like a better center. And man, Matt Harms was it. Like it was late. And I was working on graphics and I was putting all this stuff together. And man, it came out, boom, committed to BYU. And I was like, oh my gosh, like who are we going to get? I was stressing, man, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, because it was so late, and because the portal is it's different. Like, you just don't know. And Danny Manning got fired late from Wake Forest, and Olivier Sarr goes in the portal. Like, of all things, it's like, oh my god. And so, what brings me to that point is the portal has really kind of, in my experience, has kind of 3 really tough positions that like there's a million combo guards in the portal. You can find one of them. So like, you can find a lot of Denzel Aberdeens, respectfully. Like I'm not, no knocking him. Right. There's a million of them out there.
You can knock him. It's okay.
No, I'm not in that business. No.
His girlfriend's better than him right now anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Really good point guards that can make an impact. There's a lot of role point guards, but it's hard to find a good point. It's really hard to find a serviceable big, like a guy that can score with his back to the basket in the and the last one is like a 4-man that can shoot, because everyone's looking for that 4-man that can shoot. Everyone in college basketball needs that. If a center can score consistently with their back to the basket, they're playing in the NBA. They're going pro. Like that's the problem. And then if you're a really good point guard, your team's probably wanting to keep you. So like it's those 3 positions I think are super hard to fill. And you know what? He might have to fill that next year, which is a little bit, not probably the point guard, but like you're 4 and 5, like.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's interesting you say that. The first thing that comes to mind when you start talking about that is look at Kentucky the last 2 years. Look at St. John's this year. Last year, Lamont Butler's hurt. We struggle all season without a point guard. This year, Jalen Lowe's hurt. We struggle all season without a point guard. You heard Rick Pitino all season long. They don't have a point guard.
You didn't get a point guard.
We heard him after the Kentucky game. We went after 4 guys. We missed on 4 guys. That's my fault. So it is. You're right. Everybody is going after those positions.
And then you got guys playing out of position to overcompensate that role. And I think that's where I think that's kind of where this Kentucky team is falling into the trap, at least like a couple weeks ago, is like they're trying to find themselves, and like they've got guys doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And it's a little bit late for that role allocation. It's a little too late. You should know.
Well, if you think about it, Brady, you brought him up, and I made the comment about Claire Strack. Everybody knows I'm teasing. I think Denzel Aberdeen helps us tremendously on defense. But I want you to think about a guy last year that played on the national championship Florida team who had Clayton as a point guard, that he didn't have to do a lot. He didn't have to do a lot. He shot it well for Florida last year because he didn't have to do a lot. This year, how many times have we relied on Denzel Aberdeen to be our point guard or to be the guy that's trying to penetrate and create something? He's not used to that.
What's the saying? The popular saying, there's guys built to be Chiefs and Cowboys. There's like, it's a saying where it's like too many Chiefs and not enough Cowboys. It's kind of like, what I mean by that is like, that's probably a bad example, but it's like, there's a reason that he was in that role and he flourished in that role.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when evaluating talent, especially in the portal, is like, he's stepping into something that like he's not built for. And that is play a lot of minutes and play a little bit outside himself.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, and what I meant by that Chiefs and Cowboys thing was like, there's always like a saying where it's like, there's too many voices in the room. Like there should be one guy that kind of makes that final call. And then you've got a bunch of guys. Yeah. That's kind of what I meant by that. But it's,
if Ortega is a Chief and Denzel's a Cowboy, is Mo Diabate the horse?
Might be. That's a good question for our fans.
You know, he's one of the guys that I feel like tries to give you a little bit of effort when he comes in the game. He's one of the few guys on this Kentucky squad that I see getting on the floor multiple
Which is
times.
shocking last night. That's a game for him.
Yeah.
That's like he's kind of like a Missouri player, to be honest. If you ask me, like that would be a good fit for him. And Mark Mitchell's good, man. Like, let's not take away with what Missouri did. Missouri's not bad. And I think going into the game, people were really discredited. They're not 12.5 underdogs to them.
No.
Mark Mitchell's a pro. Like, and he might not be in the NBA, but he's going to make a ton of money overseas if he doesn't make the NBA, man. Like, that kid is good.
Well, Brady, Missouri, you said it earlier in the group chat, but they're 12-3. They're 2-0. They just beat Florida at home, who is ranked. They're not a terrible team. I think one of the things that killed Mo the most last night, you know, he had 3 turnovers in the loss last night, but you know, he made the comment the other day about how he's excited for JQ. We've got to play JQ more. What I saw, I feel like last night in the game was of those 3 turnovers, I feel like a couple were at least him getting to the basket. And, you know, I'm sitting in my seat and rub thinking he's going to dunk this. And all of a sudden he tries to throw a 3-foot bullet pass to JQ, who's not ready for it. 1, he's not in game shape. 2, I think he's thinking the same thing as me. Mo's getting ready to dunk this.
Yeah.
And it was a turnover.
Yeah.
Other than that, I thought Mo had a decent game. He only played 24 minutes, but he was 100% on his free throws. He got a few rebounds.
Let me ask you this. Since I don't know if anybody listening was actually at the game, what was the environment like throughout the game and leading into the end? Take us through the vibes.
It was one of those games where I'm going to be honest, Brady, my seats, I usually have a lot of people sitting around me that are complaining, wanting everybody to sit down. I heard no complaints about sitting down last night. There was not a lot of energy throughout the majority of the game. The loudest moment of the game where everybody got out of their seats and yelled, the Ortega 3/4 court shot. Everybody went crazy. Apart from that, what I was really disappointed in, Brady, I thought the moment Mark Pope got his first technical as a Kentucky head coach, I thought that place would erupt.
It didn't?
There was a few boos at the ref. Nobody really, it was like when I watched the official signal the technical, I thought, here we go. It didn't change the environment.
Interesting.
And so I really regret, because Mark Pope talked himself about how it's got to be the right moment. I think it was a great moment. I would have gotten a technical there too. I was begging him. And I think Mark actually tried to get a technical earlier, and he's too nice of a guy and the ref wouldn't give him one. And then he finally dropped a few non-Mormon words and got it. But
to that point though, and I'll let you continue, but on TV, they didn't, we didn't know it was a technical until the guy went to the free throw lane. Like it wasn't very well broadcasted.
And I regret that. Like I said, I think Mark wanted his first. He mentioned it has to come at the right moment. It was the perfect moment to get the crowd and the team into it. And it wasn't a technical where him and the ref were not even close to each other when the technical was called. The ref was approaching the table to report the call, the foul call, and throws the technical in there while he's doing it. And so while the TV didn't really, I don't know that anybody in the arena paid that much attention to it at first either. The official kind of snuck it in.
So
and I hate that for Mark Pope.
Let's have a fun little segment here, Wes. If you were the Kentucky coach, how would you want your first technical to go? Like let's say you're hired, you're in your first year. I know you get after arrest. What's the perfect setup?
I think it all depends on the climate of the fan base at the time in your team, right? And so let's say, Brady, let's say that this is my first year at Kentucky and I'm having the year Mark Pope's having. Okay. We are going into the Missouri game at what were we? 9-5?
Yeah.
We're going into the Missouri game 9-5. We started the SEC 0-1. Missouri is a team that's really good, but at home, I think we should beat. I might pull the John Calipari at Arkansas, and I might get teed up, and I might get teed up in the first 20 seconds of the game.
Well, I told Emily they're not throwing. I was like, they don't throw a Kentucky coach out at home. Like
No.
you can do whatever as long as you're like not throwing a chair on the court. Dude, Keith, we got to get him on. He was our NCAA our NCAA bracket challenge. What do you say? Play last night, in my opinion. It's so bad. You're right. I mean, but that's kind of my point.
Christy got your
Too many Chiefs, Indians, nasty Indians, not Cowboys. Yeah, he's right. I mean, in a game where Mo was brought here to be productive in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with the defensive side of that, Keith. I was thinking more of an offensive side. He didn't kill you. I think he was only a -1 maybe on the chart. But no, I get that. A lot of those defensive possessions you're talking about don't show up in that stat category. So that I agree with you there.
Yeah. I think the frustrating thing is, and I think with everybody, is these guys were brought here to win those kinds of games. And when they don't perform in those kind of games, why are they on the team?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you're brought in to do a job or you're to secure a deal or whatever, and you don't get that deal done, there's no use for you.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what's going on with Trent Noah. Your role is to make a three. If you can't, then how do I play you? Mo, if you're not rebounding, if you're not defending, if you're you're not really here to be offensively. But I'm going to throw another wrinkle in this that people don't. What was told in their recruiting process?
Well, that's true. That's another unknown.
How did you recruit them? Because if you recruited them saying, hey, you're going to come in here and you're going to develop your offensive game and you're going to shoot threes and you're going to do all this, then you're in a pickle. Because then they get here, they got paid, and they're expecting to be someone they're not, and then you're ending up being a certain way. And I think that I'm not saying it happened, but that's where I will give Cal credit, man. Cal never, ever lied, ever. He did not promise a single minute, ever. And you know what? At the time, you kind of wish he did. You're like, man, just get the deal done, man. Let's get the kid here.
Yeah.
But when it came to games, he never lied. He just never lied to the kids. So he never promised the family hey, it was understood when they came in, they were going to earn it. And he always fell back on that.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
So That kind of could be my like last point. I was getting riled up there for a second.
You were. I was liking it.
I got on a roll. I was on
Oh, no, I think, looking back kind of to recap what we talked about, Brady, we asked the question of, is there time for Mark Pope to fix this season? Yes, I think yes. And let me say this for anybody out there, Austin Kidd, don't kill me because I feel like you were at this point last night. But for anybody out there that is calling for, can Mark Pope survive the season? Can he make it? Get out of here with that, right? In his first year last year, he took this team to the Sweet 16. This is almost an entirely new team again this year. I think there's issues, like Leaf said, like Keith has said, with effort with a lot of people. You have to give him, as mad, as frustrated as we might get with him this season, you have to give him next year to see if this was a bad portal eval off season. Is it the team? You have to give him that extra year to see. So I think it can still be fixed this year. You've finally got 5 guys in the starting lineup that you've been wanting to see. Give them some time to get that chemistry. I know there's not a lot of time left, but you can still make the tournament.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about Kentucky job is people care, but it's also a very challenging part of the job is people care. So when you're winning, people, it's awesome. But when you're losing, people care. And I think that's, people sit here, like people that aren't from here and they're not experienced it, and they hear how are fans even possibly saying fire him? It's year 1.5. That's unheard of. Mm-hmm. But people here care so much. It's why it's one of the best jobs in the country.
And also one of the worst. But
it's also can be very, very, very hard. And how you kind of manage those highs and lows is it's tough. It's tough.
To me, it says a lot about the guy that John Calipari is, that he was able to survive for 15 years at this place. I think that says a lot. Yeah. While we were talking there, Keith brought up the comment, and Keith, that is one thing that I feel like we all ask and talk about all the time is, Leaf brought up the point earlier, can this group just not play Mark Pope basketball? If not, is he going to have to figure something else out? That's hard on a coach too, right? Is to switch up your entire philosophy in college, because in college you recruit to your philosophy and to your style.
I agree. I think he needs to junk it up.
I do. At this point, I think, like Keith said, I think you do need to start maybe throwing in a little
play a little bit like Missouri last night. Like Missouri was jumping from man to a couple zones like that. This team's kind of built to do that. They've got you've got Mo, who's supposed to be a good defender, rebound, physical. You've got Jane Quaint's a heck of a defender. You've got Otega, who was got to Kentucky to be a defender, and you can kind of hide Jalen Lowe a little bit's defensive liability. You might be able to bring in a Jasper or a Trent in times to kind of hide their. It's a team to do it, and it might be something that they look into because when you saw it last night in person, man, they had a few spurts where they looked legit. I remember the one clip where they kicked it out, they ran, they got an easy basket. They were called. They don't cause turnovers or live ball turnovers. It's dead ball turnovers.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and even you look, it wasn't completely because of defense, but you look at our run that we went on to go up 8 late in the game. We were playing fast. That is one. Brady, I don't think he's the most skilled player, but you get Otega away in the open court, he can score. I think Cam Williams is decent in the open court. But it's like Keith said a minute ago, it does give other players some advantages that they don't have playing slow in the half court. If you can figure out the way to junk that up and figure out what's best for your team to be able to do that, I agree. At this point, you got to do something.
They're soul searching.
They're soul searching,
and it's hard. And it's again, it's there's not a lot of time, and there's not a lot of, like, what's the right word? There's not a lot of room for error. Like, you can't just throw crap to a wall and hope it sticks at this point. There's no experimenting, and I think that's probably what they're battling with.
Yep. Yep. It's tough.
Well, there's a good comment to end on. Wes is, he's positive. That's positivity.
Yeah.
So
I agree, Keith. That's what I said. Anybody that's calling for Pope to get out of here with that, Pope's fine, right? Pope's fine.
He's fine. They're not. No, it's he's got time. I mean, dude, he could go look at. I mean, it's a little bit different. Look at Arkansas last year. They went 0-5 to start the SEC play. I mean, they turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done.
It can be done. It can be done. I'm not in panic mode, Brady. I am in a little bit sick to my stomach mode. I'm not in panic.
Well, let's. You know why? It's because you're a lower bowl Rupp Arena guys. Why you're not? You're just kind of like, yeah, I'll walk in, get my nice little comfy seat, and I'll go get my like chicken tender. That's why you're good. You're good.
Hey, as long as I can walk through that one thing and get my
your Kroger
legend hot dog with the soggy bun because it's been wrapped in Reynolds wrap for 30 minutes.
They made it at 2 p.m. and there's Haley.
What would you describe them in terms of desserts, Brady? You cannot use tiramisu.
Oh.
Ever how many syllables that is?
Right now, they're playing like an ice cream cone with like rainbow sprinkles. They're soft. The soft serve ice cream at Rupp is what they're playing like.
Oh, I like that. Soft serve Rupp Arena ice cream with sprinkles.
And for people that didn't hear the previous show, Haley actually came up with probably the most accurate description of this year's team, completely out of left field, caught us off guard. She said this team was described as a dessert, and what was it, 4 syllables, which I've never even heard of a 4-syllable dessert in my life.
I couldn't think of one word that was
one word. And she got us thinking, and actually, credit to her, she kept it a secret for like a week.
And impressed that she come up with it like,
yeah, she came up in like 3 seconds, and you don't, and she told us how many syllables it was and all that, and we're like, okay, tiramisu. Because
I would be lying if I said I didn't go home and try to look up words that were 4 syllables, and I had no luck.
Honestly, I bet you if I typed in tiramisu in Google right now, I probably wouldn't come up with it because I would spell it wrong.
Yes.
And her reasoning was this team has a lot of layers. And I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of layers creates identity issues, which we obviously have. And so, no, I think she was
kind of like when you dip, like when you dip your spoon in a tiramisu, then like all the layers like come together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like maybe the layers are like stuck. Like it's like a frozen tiramisu. They need to like melt the layers and come together as one.
Thaw out a little bit. Hey.
That might be what they need to do.
That might be what they need to do.
Haley, they're a frozen tiramisu.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Well, guys, listen. Thank you. If you're watching the college football playoffs here at halftime, thank you for hopping in with us. It's been a great group today. A lot of good comments, a lot of good thoughts from the viewers. I love it. Thank you all so much. And Brady, I'm glad that you got your barrel pick in today and that you had a good time and made it back to the state.
There. Well, Club Blue, they did a great job with Twanny and all those guys. We need to go over there and see them and maybe do a show over there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was a little bit nervous. You got that new car and you joined the show from the car. I was a little bit nervous that you were going to like wreck it and Emily was going to kill me for getting you to hop on.
No, I flipped a new leaf. I'm treating this with a lot more respect.
There we go. I like it.
Which actually, I have to go turn my light off my car because I know I left it on because I was great call. I'll be dead. That'd be great. I'd kill my battery in the first week.
First week. Well, guys, thank y'all for joining. Everybody that tuned in, thank you. We appreciate your support. Thank you to MCHC for the sponsorship and making this happen, in Hometown 24 for giving us the platform. Until next time.